Day 1. While my arrival on planet S2215C was planned, the crash landing was decidedly not. The jolt of it was powerful enough that my teeth clattered together on impact and left a pulsing pain on the left side of my mouth. I'm quite certain I broke a tooth, a molar, but there is little to be done about it now. There are no doctors aboard the Space Explorer Patience. No people at all, except for me, Dr. Charmaine Brunel, pilot, sole passenger, and intergalactic emissary of Earth. It is a mouthful of a title that could easily be reduced to lonely astronaut widow without losing much meaning. After all, what do words truly mean? What is language without communication? Like that old saying about trees falling in the forest. My stated mission was to determine whether Earth's flora and fauna could well survive, if not thrive, on this smaller intergalactic satellite circling a hot blue star. In all the thousands of photographs of Bode's galaxy and S2215C taken before my mission departure, not one photograph could reasonably conclude the habitability of the small planet. I had begun to sweat before I put on my spacesuit, but I was unsure whether from the heat or the excitement of a visible tree out the tiny window. On first look, the dusty gray planet with dappled topography resembled Earth's moon. However, my first steps on the surface negated any further lunar comparisons. The ground was spongy and soft, moss-like, though obtaining a sample of the material was impossible against the present force of gravity. I attempted to peel back the sponge-like roll of sod, but it appeared to be one solid and impenetrable mass. The effort of the attempt was exhausting, so I stood a while and stared out into the swirling spiral galaxy. Not one singular instance in all my years on Earth made me feel as small as I did while standing on a moonless terrestrial planet beneath the star-crusted expanse of a far vaster universe than aeronautics could measure. Vaster even than I dared imagine. The atmospheric chemistry instrument built into my helmet confirmed the presence of sufficient oxygen levels, such that I lifted my visor for a few minutes to breathe in the dusty, stifling air. I could have wept at the sweetness as I gulped down long breaths that hadn't been continuously filtered and recycled for 26 years. The cerulean sun beat down relentlessly without wind to buffer the heat, but the breathable air alone was enough to justify the mission. The presence of a tree, even the lone arbor in the immediate vicinity, was a victory for Flora. My body is heavy and tired, the aftermath of deep space hibernation followed by the shock of a gravitational force 4 times that of Earth. Tomorrow I shall search for water and determine sample collection methods on the strange gray dot beyond the telescope. Tonight, I sip from a plastic champagne flute and rest my bones in satisfactory solitude. Signing off, CB. Day 4. Last night I dreamed of a dentist chair, a tray of gleaming metal tools, a crinkly paper bib, a gurgling suction hose. I awoke and remembered that I am not a dentist. However, I can identify diseased and damaged body parts, and I know that the offending tooth will need to come out. As of now, I am too much a chicken to do it myself. The pain in my tooth is most wretched and has moved to a more central location in my mouth, filling every available nook with incessant throbbing. It is difficult to chew the dehydrated meat and tallow rounds on board, and I have resorted to a mostly pureed fruit and vegetable diet, which has, in turn, wreaked havoc on my digestive system. Thankfully, I am not competing for the toilet with anyone else. I can sit in misery, alone and peacefully. S2215C doesn't judge, nor does its hot blue sun. Between the heat and the gravitational force of the gray planet, my body craves that dehydrated meat and fat. It is a necessary yet offensive energy source in my current state and is intended to make up at least half of my daily diet. I do not have exploration energy, but I have a duty that requires putting on my boots and stepping out into the gray wilderness regardless of the pain. There is no alternative. If I do not collect the samples, there is nobody else to complete the task. Knowing the state of Earth on the day of my departure, samples collection is a most important and rather urgent duty. 2 days ago, I made it to the lone tree visible from my capsule window. Getting close enough to collect a piece of bark or a few leaves for biological studies proved to be quite the challenge, for the entire tree was ringed with rope-like creatures that slithered and hissed but appeared to be without heads or tails, endlessly churning as a swarm in a hive. I thought about loosing one of the ink-black creatures from the tree, but I found no way to get close enough to reach one well enough to try, let alone a place to gain purchase for a lever. The spongy ground makes gravitational force much heavier as I sink into the planet with every step. Yesterday, I hacked away at the sponge, determined to collect the coveted samples. I managed to free a chunk, a cube of about 3 centimeters. What I can describe only as a planetary wound began to ooze a viscous plasma of shivering violet I dared not touch. I managed to scoop up a large vial of the stuff for testing before trudging back to the capsule. The whole process took hours and exhausted me to my very bones. Today I should return to the tree, address the writhing mass at its base, collect bark, leaves, photographs, specimens, but the tree will have to wait. Instead, I shall venture into the cavern beyond the tree, not visible from the capsule, but present nonetheless. The cave calls to me, and I hear its call just as a new mother hears her baby, which is delightful and entirely frightening. Though not designed for spelunking or intense hiking of any kind, my boots will have to do. I am thankful at least that S2215C has delicious oxygen-rich air for breathing, and that I won't need the added burden of oxygen tanks on my journey. I have enough to think about. My breakfast is light, pureed peaches mixed into milled cereal grain, and unsatisfying. The mug of coffee is bitter without cane sugar or cream. My bag contains a lump of meat and a packet of freeze-dried berries to encourage myself to eat the meat I know I need. My mouth is throbbing just thinking about it now. My bag also contains a poultice for inflammation and plenty of water, which is one element of human importance I have not yet seen on this planet. I hope that the cave will lead the way to water. If I find water, I can go home. Home. The word feels alien, strange on my lips. Though it has only been a few days on this planet, the mental weight of passing Earth years seems more pressing than it did when I departed. Were I to leave S2215C today, I would return to Earth in time to learn that everyone I had ever known or loved is dead. That will be the case regardless of my return date. The only thing that brings me comfort is knowing that my husband and daughter are already dead, that I have no family waiting for me, as they had perished long before my journey. Thus, I carry on my research. It is the only thing that gives me purpose. Signing off, CB. Day 7. The tooth is gone. A molar is not an easy tooth to pull without proper tools, but I had determination, grit, and a flathead screwdriver. Performing such a task without anesthesia was an act of self-inflicted cruelty followed by relief. I cannot stop tonguing the bloody, soft wound with ragged edges left behind, the metallic tinge of blood, the long, slow throb. I may have passed out. I'm not entirely sure. The left side of my mouth is packed with ground ginger and coconut oil that dribbles from between my lips. The poultice seems to help with the pain, and the scent reminds me of my home on the southern tip of Florida, the one I sold before mission departure, the one that is no longer home for me. Today marks one Earth week on planet S2215C. At least, I think it's been an Earth week. Time makes no sense on the gray planet with ever-present blue light that keeps me awake. There is no night here, no true darkness, only endless days. The silence is full of buzzing energy and won't quiet my mind. Sleep is born of nervous exhaustion. The nightmares prevent much else, nondescript as they may be. Colors, shapes, a prickly feeling of something hidden in the shadows, ancient, untamed, and wild. The cavern whispers to me, drawing me forward into its psychosphere, tangible, sulfuric, strange, thick, and unwieldy, a being of its own. The dark is so complete that I would have slept in the cavern were it not for the weight of gravity that makes me feel a kinship with the beached whales of earth. Each step into the cave is crushing. Each step adds lead to my boots and limbs. Each step saps so much energy that I am fatigued before I cross the threshold, after which the light disappears and the path spirals down into the unknown. It is neither kind nor unkind, moral nor immoral. The cavern is both palatial and ruined, a home for the darkness, a snare for the darkness. While the air is sweet, the taste in my mouth is like ash and bits of shaved steel. Yet I must continue. Yesterday, I sat on the sponge as near to the tree as I could and watched the swirling mass as it wound round and round the trunk and noticed no breaks, no evidence of individual forms or bodies. I'm not sure whether the black swirls are moving or still, whether they are part of the tree or a part. I wondered briefly if the swirling black was a mirage, like a hive full of bees with scissors, is dreadfully loud, so that I no longer desire to be near it. The specimens, the chunk of spongy ground material, and the ooze dried up within a day. Rather than a 3-centimeter sod chunk and full goo vial, I am left with a wafer-thin wrinkled scab and a few flakes of shimmering violet dust. Even the patch of crust from which I carved this specimen of gray spongy material crusted over scab-like, as if the planet is healing itself. Perhaps it is. Or perhaps I am losing my mind in the vast gray nothing with the single tree ringed with writhing black snakes, or eels, or slugs. I have yet to find water to finish my mission. I have yet to earn my journey back to Earth in the home that is no longer mine. I need to find water, hopefully potable, mineral-rich water, life-sustaining water. When I left Earth, the water supply for awake time was sufficient for 3 months. Factoring in the energy sink of extreme gravitational force, I have now estimated my water supply to be a measly 20 days. A little water would be a boon for HQ, something to provide hope to the people of Earth who face the inevitability of an expanding red giant sunstar and the possibility of being swallowed up by it, like the cavern swallows the light. The cavern will have water. I must traverse it. I must explore every inch of space within it, every nook and hollow pocket and twisting stone path. Despite the weight of gravity, I will sleep in the cavern tonight or be crushed by it. I cannot be certain which. Regardless, I must continue. Home is nowhere but here now. I have a purpose, a canteen, and a flashlight with which to explore my new cave home. I shall make the best of it. Signing off, CB. Day 9. Deep in the caves, my body is lighter. There is a gravitational relief for which I have little explanation, but the weight on my shoulders has lifted enough that I can stand up straight. While it does not make sense that the gravitational force is lighter with a decrease in altitude, I cannot discount my experience. I am learning that Earth's mathematical and physical principles may not be the same principles that apply to S2215C. My ears are traitorous hangers-on that hear my name in the vast underground framework of this place. The gray sponge walls buzz a low tone like a light bulb in a brownout and hush their breathy beckons, which command me to move deeper into the cavern. The air is metallic, and a sourness grows in my belly, though I cannot be certain whether from thirst or intuition. My skin crawls with the sound of the cavern that is as quiet as the ocean is quiet, never still, never silent. In switching off my flashlight to conserve battery life, I have discovered the world beyond the light. the world beyond time, and the palpable heat of the blue orb that hangs in the sky with black stars. When I switch off the flashlight, I hang like a black star in a void, suspended in the roaring darkness of the cave with a heartbeat that pounds behind my ears and sloshes humming blood into arteries while all my hairs stand on their follicles. I am sure my eyes are tricking me now, forming colors and shapes where there are none, seeing the objects of dreams and nightmares without sleep. The cave's pure, tingling energy pulls at my blood the way Earth Moon pulls at the tide. Truthfully, I am afraid to make much sound. Though I've seen nothing of structural concern, my footsteps are careful. To cause a catastrophic echo that crushes the cave system is not as terrifying as considering what could happen were I to give away my location to a cave-dwelling creature I cannot see, perhaps one I cannot fathom. If there are beings here, I'm not sure I want to find them. I do not want to be found first. It is cool here in this part of the cave system, almost chilly, a welcome relief from the oppressive heat of the planet's surface. I have lost track of time spent walking and the distance covered. Losing track of things happens quickly in the darkness. Miles or meters, days or hours, I have no way of knowing. But I am almost out of food, and I have yet to find water. My canteen is empty, but there is water in the air. I smell it. I will find water if I stay the course. For now, I will sleep and dream of all the water I cannot drink, of all the light I cannot see. I will dream of the home that is no longer home to me and the cave that knows my name. Signing off, CB. Day. I have lost track of the days in this dark cave system, and I know that I am most assuredly lost. In all the preparations made for the journey to S2215C, including accepting the loss of the life on Earth I once knew, I did not prepare myself for the potential loss of my physical life. I did not plan for my death, but I am now staring into the void of such inevitability. The flashlight blinked off some time ago, its battery worn out, and the only light source left is on the tip of a pen I found in my pocket. The charm of the cave's cool air has also worn out, and a chill has set into my bones so that I know I will never be warm again. I would welcome the stifling heat and blue light of the giant star in the spiraling galactic neighborhood, but it does not reach me here. I would make a torch, but I have no means to create fire and have seen nothing that will burn. There's an undeniable scratching in the cave walls just beyond the hum of energy, a crackle hidden within a whisper. It calls my name still, continuously, an endless looping summons. I must be mad already, as the noise would surely drive me to madness. The pen light is flickering. Once it goes out completely, I will be left alone in the dark void of this place, cut off from my capsule, my command, cut off from humanity. I am both afraid to move and full of dread at remaining immobile. From my spot in the center of this vaulted part of the cavern, two paths of apparently identical quality lead, presumably, farther into the darkness. Not long ago, there were 4 paths. Had I not seen it with my own eyes, I would not have believed the darkness could entirely swallow up parts of the cave. I cannot be sure whether this is real, or whether I exist within a nonsensical, sunless mirage. I would question whether I exist at all, but the pull of the cave's roaring darkness in my blood is unmistakable, like the rush of water. The same water I stumbled upon as I realized the bleakness of my present circumstances. My first sips were long and greedy as the cool water, pleasantly potable, tumbled into my dry, aching stomach. Then I retched and lost it all. The next sips were more cautious and have renewed my vigor, much to my chagrin. Were my thirst not catastrophic and survival instincts not heightened, I may have resolved to shriveling up in dehydration rather than drinking, but I was weak. I shall need to start the process of dying all over again, a most uncomfortable thought. But regardless of water, I have no food and no way out of this abominable labyrinthine cave. I shall never report the presence of water to those awaiting such news on Earth, though I know they are desperate for it. But it is for the better. There is no home for the people of Earth on S2215C. I know that now, and I'm thankful to know it alone. How foolish was I, the lone astronaut who journeyed to S2215C, to have dreamed of building a home. I know now that this cave is both my home and my grave. I only hope Earth's command does not send another helpless explorer to die in these reaches of Bode's galaxy. Another who may wander into the cave and find my cold bones in time to realize they too shall become a pile of bones swallowed up by the dark. Signing off, CB. I cave. I wind. I, a name on the wind through the mouth of the cave. Weightless, tasteless, the screaming silence of wandering waste. Blue star, blue morn, blue asphyxia, a gray-skinned void in the cave. Raw sun, open air. Suck material wounds to harvest immaterial space. Wind call, mouth speak. Shout the blackest spiraling tongue of the cave, tasteless, voiceless, wetting the further inside voided black space. Mourn not, star hot, flameless bird of a ravaging cave. Open skin, raw within, the deconstructed film of pedestrian waste. Cave, void, mouth, open. Thank you for listening to my short fiction, Gray Planet. I'm Fallon Clark, Vermont-based story developer and revision guide with more than a dozen years of experience in story coaching, book doctoring, and developmental, substantive, and line editing of fiction, memoir, academic, and creative nonfiction works for hybrid and independent publishers and independent authors. I'm also the managing editor of Metastellar magazine, which became the second most popular science fiction and fantasy magazine on the internet in 2023. My fiction has been published in Flash Fiction magazine and the Microzine, and I have a new story coming in 2026 that I can't wait to share with you all. Books and Bullshit is a little of this and a little of that, and a whole lot of mostly bookish fun. Here you'll find speculative flash fiction stories and nonfiction stories from my gray matter to your brain meat, the brain droppings that fill up my noodler when I read books, work with authors to develop books, and navigate freelance work to remain rooted in books, the terrain-focused and other philosophical musings of a suburbanite working hard to build a sovereign life with my partner and show our young daughter how exactly we may be free in this chaotic, captured world. Whether you're strapped in for the ride or totally rubbernecking it, come on in and enjoy the show.